What's up? Welcome back to Ground Zero Salem. Sorry for the shakiness there, the arm settling down. So I just hit 500 subscribers yesterday. I think I'm at 501 or 502 now, which is rad. So as promised, I have a contest, a little video topic that I'd like to see some videos on. The one I like the most, I'm going to give you some free stuff. Before I get into all that, I want to thank viewer Richard for making this grail happen for me. This is Bathory, the Return on Combat, and I guess the rumors are true. This sounds incredibly better and different than that Black Mark repress. It's got those lovely green combat center labels that I love so much. Sounds awesome. I got it for a reasonable price, so thanks so much to that viewer. Thanks to Richard for making that happen for me. Really, really cool. I also want to give out a quick shout out to Leo from Australia. His channel is called Too Much Metal is Barely Enough. Really, really cool guy. Very, very few viewers, or subscribers rather. Definitely worth your time. This guy was around in the 80s. He did the whole tape trade thing. He has all these great videos. A Brazilian two-parter covering all this awesome extreme Brazilian metal of the day. He's got a great one on female fronted metal, a great one on early US death thrash stuff where he just casually shows off a Sadist demo, that the Death to Posers demo that the guy from Sadist sent him. Really incredible shit. So he definitely deserves like 100 times more subscribers than he has. So I'll put a link down. Smash that subscribe button for Leo. He's awesome. So what I wanted to get into was the topic of missteps. And before I go into this a little bit further, this is what you can win. This is the Repulsive Death Pulmonary Fibrosis split tape that I got in an extra of in my tape trade with Mario in Costa Rica. Cool, grinding death from both bands. Pulmonary Fibrosis is French, I believe, but it's the J card layout for you. Great stuff. And this, in either on cassette or CD, depending on whatever your preference is, the Pazuzu record, Revenant of Blasphemies. There's a cassette. Came out on Grotesque Studios. Great, dark, murky, fucking death metal from Costa Rica. The Ouroboros going there. Got the tape for you, or if you prefer, I have it on CD as well. A slipcase, just, you know, whatever you're into. This has a nice little booklet and stuff on the inside there. Collage. So, and if you wish to enter and put in your own 2 cents and you're not into the extreme metal stuff, I've got lots of music, not all brutal death metal. So, you know, if you're more into other types of shit, I will try to accommodate you if your video is the one that I choose. So, a little bit let down when I found out that Neil Jameson apparently does a column that is of this topic, but I'm going to go ahead with it anyway. I found out about that after I already decided and came up with all this stuff by my buddy Peter. So I guess the dude has a column called "Justify Your Shitty Taste." That column and that guy are not on my radar whatsoever. So my little tagline was "Beloved Missteps" or "Beloved Stinkers," and the idea is I want to see your picks, 1 to 5, as many as you want, really, of records that you like but most other people think suck, or, you know, maybe the rock media when it came out, or metal media journalists didn't like. It's you know, mostly like a universally panned record that you happen to enjoy, or, you know, I mean, it's all subjective. I'm sure a lot of these won't seem like missteps to some people, but a lot of ones that are just regarded as crap by a certain segment of the population that you happen to disagree about. So I've got a stack that I'll show that happen to be some of my favorites that I don't get why so many people don't like them. This is an obvious one. I talked about it already a few updates back when I was back in the B's, talking about all my Black Sabbath stuff. Born Again, just a great heavy metal record. The riffing is fantastically heavy on it. A lot of people don't like the production. I think the production's fine. I certainly like what Ian Gillan does with the vocals and brings it into the sort of Black Sabbath universe. It's just fucking cool. It's a great record. It came out on Warner Brothers. That's the insert there. That cool, like, occult star thing on the background, on the back of the cover. Yeah, fucking great record, in my opinion. Don't get why it's been hated. It's been gathering steam, you know, decades and decades after its release, and a lot of people are seeming to warm up to it. There's also some demo versions of the songs that people regard as superior. I like them. It's cool. There's bootlegs of the demo songs too, which I wouldn't mind owning at some point. So, going into it, we have Venom Possessed next. Now, I haven't read a ton about this, but it seems pretty widely regarded as a weak Venom record compared to the three that were before it. I think it's awesome. I believe it's their last one with Kronos. It should be right, I think. This came out on Combat in 85, I think. But, yeah, 85. Just printed inner sleeves. And green Combat Center labels with the Tragedy and Comedy Devils on it, which is fucking badass. I love this record. You know, a lot of that might be chalked up to nostalgia. You know, I may have been the first Venom that I heard. This is a very old copy. This is the copy I've had since I was probably 14. I think it's got ripping songs on it. Satanicist is awesome. Too Loud for the Crowd. Flytrap's a fucking banger. I think it's great. I think it's, I don't know if I'd say it's better than black metal, but I'd say it's almost on par. I don't understand the dislike for it at all. This was the first record I thought of when I was cooking up this idea that I thought was original. This is COD by St. Vitus, Children of Doom. First St. Vitus I ever heard as well, so I'm sure nostalgia kind of plays a bit of a part. This nice gatefold double vinyl on Season of Mist. It's a reissue. Limited to 550 units worldwide. Not very interesting center labels there, but cool red vinyl. I love this record. I think it strikes a lot of people as odd because it has very clean, good production, courtesy of Don Dokken, of all people. The only St. Vitus record to feature the vocalist Christian Linderson. Is that right? Yes. It's on the hype sticker. Christian Linderson from Count Raven, who are great. Great doom band. And that dude has a hell of a range. Zero the Hero. This is what I'm talking about. Hell of a range. The Count Raven stuff, he's almost doing a Pitch Perfect kind of Ozzy impression. He's doing more of a wino thing on this. You can tell it's pretty apparent he's trying to sound like wino, at least in my opinion. And he's doing a great job. There's a little bit more range to it. It's a little bit more high pitched, but not much. And there's some fantastic riffs, particularly the riff on Imagination Man. The title track, Children of Doom, is fantastic. I Am the Screaming Banshee is a little bit more of a slightly more up-tempo number. It's got a nice groove to it. They redo Hallow's Victim to be a Doom song. It's actually one of their only fast songs on a previous release. I just think this record's a fucking badass record, and I've heard, not read so much, but heard a lot of people poo-poo it. I don't understand why. I think it's one of their best, you know. Probably their best for me past, like, Mournful Cries or something. Again, nostalgia does play into all this. Join the Army by Suicidal Tendencies. Now, this is kind of a hotly debated sort of thing, I feel. I know there's plenty of people out there that do like and appreciate this record that are metal fans, but for a lot of hardcore purists, Suicidal has one good record, and that's the self-titled, and after that, they aren't a band to them anymore. They're a joke. I call bullshit on that, you know, and I notice, like, a lot of people that are 80s hardcore purists only like the first couple of DRI records, you know. Some of them only like the first COC, although I feel like COC is kind of the exception with like liking crossover stuff, but a lot of people are that way. This is a great thrash metal record, great crossover record. The production is kind of thin, so I do get that aspect of not liking it, but Beware He's Possessed to Skate, just a fun fucking song, fun album overall. War Inside My Head with that sort of, that riff in it is just nice and chugging and fucking angry. They re-recorded it years later with like better production in it, fucking slayed. Suicidal Maniac, the opening song, fucking great stuff. This came out on Caroline. This is a pretty beat to shit copy, but it plays fine. Center labels there. I don't know. I tend to really enjoy this record. Then I got some tapes here that I'll talk about. Speaking of Corrosion of Conformity, before I get to the tapes, actually, I got a CD of this. This is Blind by COC. Now, this did meet with really good reviews, and a lot of people liked it, but it was almost a completely new fan base. I feel like those hardcore purists that might have liked the crossover stuff really didn't dig this. You know, I know it seems like people that are fans of Corrosion of Conformity either like the crossover stuff or they like the stoner rock stuff, and this kind of falls in between. It bridged the gap somewhat, but it was definitely more towards their newer sound when they kind of reformed in the 90s. I think it's great. It's very modern for its time, for its day, which was the early 90s. A guy I know, fellow record collector, kind of described it once as Metallica's The Black Album, but doesn't suck. Which is, I like a couple songs off the Black Album, the deeper cuts from the Black Album myself, and that could be considered, you know, a falling off point. That could be a topic of discussion easily. Yeah, this record's great. Very heavy. Nice thick wall of sound, layered guitars, sort of croony, sung, kind of soulful metal vocals, courtesy of Carl Agel, who I think I mentioned was in a great New York crossover band called School of Violence that nobody seems to have heard of that I like. But yeah, great record. Came out on Relativity back in the day. After that, of course, they went on to do Deliverance and Wise Blood and went into, you know, kind of a stoner rock, sludgy, southern rock kind of thing. And they had a lot of success with that, and it took me years and years and years to appreciate that stuff. COC stopped with me at Blind for years, and then whatever reason, I was working at a record store with a lot of people that liked those records, Deliverance and Wise Blood, and it just hooked me somehow. Much later on, but I digress. Kind of similar genre-wise, we have Trouble, Manic Frustration. Not sure how this was received when it came out. Probably was received fine, but it seems like nowadays, especially with Doom getting popular again, I'm shocked that people don't really talk about this, don't seem to care for it. A lot of people love the more new wave of British heavy metal tinged Metal Blade era Trouble records, Psalm 9 and the lot, and I actually really like the full length, probably more than anything else. Just it's got that Rick Rubin magic to it that he kind of brought to Slayer and Danzig, and kind of helped put his own spin on Trouble. They start wearing they always had 70s influences with sounding, you know, taking a lot from Black Sabbath and covering Led Zeppelin, but I feel like they take more of a Led Zeppelin influence on the self-titled. This one, they start messing around with like Cream and the Beatles a bunch, I feel like. It's got some great riffs on it, and I like what they do with those influences. Especially, they have a song called Hello Strawberry Skies, which is really on the nose as far as referencing the Beatles. And I'm not a big fan, really, of the Beatles or Cream for that matter, but their unique take on bordering on maybe a little bit of like psychedelia with the heaviness and the doominess is cool to me on this. And I don't know anybody who really is into this. I think it's a great record. This came out on Def Jam sometime in the early 90s. So, yeah, 92 it looks like. I think it's a great release, you know. my favorite is the self-titled. This is a definite one. Past couple, you know, you can say that, well, those records had their merits and they had their fans. This, I can hear heads shaking everywhere. This is Renewal by Creator. Fuck, man, I'm not sure why, but I love it. Came out on Futurist. Follow-up record to Coma of Souls. Big shift in sound for Creator. It's a lot more cold, mechanical, crunchy, mid-paced. You know, Melee's vocals are not shrieky. It's this kind of mid-range monotone shout. It's just got this really cold, creepy air to it, and there's something about it that I just fucking love. But yeah, not a lot of people. I don't know anybody who likes Renewal by Creator, but I fucking love it. This, I think, was, you know, has probably some fans, but I think after Chemical Exposure, Slash Illusions, and Swallowed in Black, a lot of people don't really get into Visions of Misery by Sadist. They put out a genuine stinker of a record after this that I can't remember, Elements of Anger, I think. I'd be interested to hear who likes Elements of Anger, but this is fucking great technical thrash. Really, really good stuff, and nobody ever really seems to talk about it. It doesn't seem like people care for it. I think a lot of people might have kind of lost the plot with Sadist on this one. Got Steve DiGiorgio on bass, and he's really, really showcasing his skills on this. It's a great album. I love it. Nobody seems to really talk about it. We got this Chaos UK tape, and I've heard a lot of punks just be like, that record, really? Which I don't understand, because, I mean, I know a lot of their early stuff is really good, but I've heard some of their recordings that I don't even know how people find them listenable. I like my share of kind of distorted, messed up stuff, but there's a couple of their records that just sound like they're recorded in fucking porta potties. And this is great punk. Not as raw and abrasive as their earlier stuff. It's a little bit more tuneful. Very British, you know, it's got that pogo beat thing going, as well as some really faster numbers. There's some awesome choruses, just that pub style, shout along type of shit. A lot of their classic tracks are live on here. There's like, it's bookended. There's like a studio session, 7 songs, then a whole bunch of live songs, and then 2 more studio songs at the end. And this came out on Century Media, which is interesting. Came out a while ago, but I think previous to this, they started having a more of a like streamlined, cleaned up, straightforward punk kind of thing. I think they did a record or 2 like that before this, but I gave them a listen and they weren't really that great in my opinion. But this little odds and ends thing is all I really like by them, except for the 7-inch that came out with my friend Zine there. To be fair, there's probably more stuff of theirs I should check out, and I will at some point. But yeah, just the fucking riffing and the choruses on this is so pissed. And it's great. It's a great tape. Even though it came out on Century Media, it was reviewed in a few metal mags that didn't quite get it. And it's just a word of mouth thing, but every punk rocker I know that's like really into Japanese D-beat and stuff like that, as well as the Riot City and UK 82 stuff, don't like this, and I don't get why. I think it's great, and that's all I have. But there's a lot more that can be discussed. I mean, when you talk in terms of bands' discographies, especially bands with larger discographies, there's very few that are solid all the way through and don't dip out and vary in style or try something different, you know. And you can, I mean, off the top of my head, I could list, I can't remember the name of the album, but there's that Carbonized record that has the weird sort of H.R. Giger ripoff art. You know, that's a weird one. Feel Sorry for the Fanatic by Morgoth, you know, Reflections by Convulse. Hell, even if you want to go with classic stuff, I mean, a lot of people say In Through the Outdoor is the record where Zeppelin lost the plot for them. I'm not really the biggest Led Zeppelin fan, so I can't really say. A lot of people don't like Rock and Rolla by Judas Priest. their first record, you know, they said that Priest doesn't really gain steam until after that, and I think that record's great. You know, there's a lot of examples. I had a list written down, but it's over there, and I don't want to get it. But yeah, Massive Killing Capacity by Dismember is an example. It's the one record that's kind of different. I guess it's kind of slow and moshier, and you know, people don't like that. So I'd like to hear what records you like that are often considered not that hot. Anywhere on the spectrum of not that hot to like straight up garbage, you know. I think these were some pretty decent examples, but I'm curious to hear yours. So, you know, make a video. The name of the contest is Beloved Missteps and Stinkers, Ground Zero Salem, and hopefully this won't go over like a lead fart in church, and I'll see some of those. Looking forward to it. Have a good day, everybody.